marks the beginning of Tape 2, Volume 1, in the Deposition of Noreen Considine. We are going back on the record. The time is 2:51 p.m.
Ms. Considine, are you ready to proceed?
Yes, I am.
I believe I had been asking you about your understanding of the expulsion process. And you were describing, as I recall, the hearing panel and then how the school district, school board would act on that. Is that correct?
Yes, I believe that you're right.
Well, go ahead and complete your description of the expulsion process for Jurupa Unified School District.
I don't remember where I left off.
Could you read back the last question and answer just before the break? Thank you very much.
Question, you understand that a school district has nothing to do with putting a child or keeping a child in juvenile hall, right? Answer, oh yes, they call the police and the police or the sheriff's department did their thing.
Well, go ahead, and because I was asking that question in connection with that one incident several years ago when you were a non-attorney advisor for students, but I was trying to segregate out the issue of juvenile hall. So go ahead and complete your description of the overall expulsion process after the hearing panel is convened.
Well, the hearing panel, they make a decision among themselves, three people, as to what they think the fate of this student should be. And then it comes to the Board of Education, the governing board, at one of our regular meetings. And we are given a couple pages about the student and the recommendation, and we, as far as I know, we've always followed the recommendation of the hearing panel.
Now, isn't it true that within the last 3 months, you've actually, as a trustee, voted on who the members of the hearing panels would be?
No, and that's interesting that you say that, because I found that in the documents I get for the agenda
When?
for each of the hearing panel. Excuse me, we meet twice a month, except for December and July we meet once. And I found it in one of these monthly agendas, but I didn't vote on it. I don't know who, if anybody, voted on it. It was in there. There was no comment on what I had as to whether these people were, who recommended them or whatever. There was just a list of names. And I remember no vote on that.
Now, we said you saw a list of names for the hearing panel.
The hearing panel,
When was that?
a couple months ago.
About 2 months ago.
Maybe a little more. I don't.
And it's your recollection that the school board did not vote on that, correct?
That's correct.
Did you ask any questions of staff as to who the members of the hearing panel were?
No.
Why not?
My experience of asking questions is that the answers don't give me the information that I need.
Why don't you just persist in asking questions?
I have a limited amount of time that I can devote to prying answers out of people, and then I don't know if they're just making it up. I mean, I don't know.
What do you
Well,
mean?
we're supposed to, it says we're going to vote on them. We didn't vote on them. So what happens? I don't know.
Well, why don't you ask a question about it?
There are so many things like this. We get policies revised. I don't know who or how or what they come about. We just get the copies, and we're supposed to make the changes.
You get what copies and make what changes?
Policies. I'm saying that there are many things that, like the list of panel, it doesn't say who, my copy at least, doesn't say who recommended these people and who's deciding whether we're going to put them on the panel or not.
Well, the issue concerning, within the last 2 or 3 months that you described, the issue concerning the members of the hearing expulsion panel was on what's called the consent calendar, correct?
I don't know about that.
Consent agenda, excuse me. Do you know what a consent agenda is?
No, I haven't heard it.
Isn't it true that in every packet that goes before the Board of Trustees, there's what's called the consent calendar or the consent agenda?
That's not familiar to me. I'm not familiar with that term.
You read every agenda packet very carefully, don't you?
I read it.
And you read it carefully, correct?
Some more carefully than others. Some topics more carefully than others.
And isn't it, what you're saying is, in the past time period between December of 2008 and as we sit here in the law offices of Best Western Krieger, August 9, 2010, you've never seen the term consent calendar or consent agenda?
It doesn't sound familiar to me.
Okay, have you completed your description of the overall expulsion process for Jurupa Unified School District?
Well, I got as far as their fate being determined by the board, by the Board of Education or governing board, whichever you call us, that typically agrees with the hearing panel. What we get is much less than what the hearing panel got, as I said. And we vote on it, and that's the end of it for us.
And then if parents or the representatives and the student who's subject to expulsion disagree with the decision by the Board of Education, what happens next?
I know that they can go to the Board of Education, the County Board of Education. I don't recall any that did when I've been on the board.
Have you ever talked with anyone at the County Office of Education about the appeal process and how that goes before the County Board of Education?
No, I haven't.
Have you ever tried to find out whether the County Board of Education ever overrules school district boards of education?
No, I have not.
Do you know if there's any form of review if a parent or a student who's subject to expulsion still disagrees with the decision from the County Board of Education, if there's any mechanism or means to have further review by any quasi or judicial body?
That's kind of what we did for the boy that was accused of making a bomb out of a water bottle.
What do you mean? That's kind of what you did.
Well, he was already expelled. We went, I believe, to the, my husband was, I was only helping him. I believe he went to the superintendent at the time, maybe somebody under the superintendent, and got them to reconsider.
Can the superintendent overturn a decision by the Board of Trustees?
I'm not sure about that.
Why aren't you
We
sure?
we were not seen by the board. We were told that the superintendent would deal with the board. We didn't have to.
And this concerns the young man with the water bottle and the dry ice.
Yes.
So you've been on the Board of Trustees for Jurupa Unified School District since December of 2008 now, correct?
Yes.
Have you ever clarified whether the superintendent has any ability to overturn a decision by the school board?
I don't believe he does. But I could be wrong about that.
So you don't know whether the superintendent can overrule a decision by the school board?
Well,
Objection asked and answered. You can answer.
I don't think he can.
So as you look back now, do you even know how the expulsion for the young man who had the dry ice in the water bottle was overturned?
No, I don't know. I know we were told by the superintendent that he would take care of. So he would speak to the board, we didn't have to. I believe the process was going to be that he would go in there and tell them what new evidence there was and ask them to, didn't I say this before we had our break? Yeah, ask them to have the kid come back to school, clear his record, and as if it never happened to him, his being expelled.
Now, I'm still referring to what I believe is exhibit number 3 to your deposition, which is the federal court complaint.
This one? Okay, what page?
Go to page 5. And you see paragraph 14 at line 10 on page 5 of the federal court complaint, the exhibit 3?
Yes.
You see where it says, quote, during the days of December 2-6, 2008, comma.
Oh, wait. You said page 5, line 10?
I think you have the wrong pleading in front of you, ma'am.
This is,
Did I say the wrong exhibit number?
No. Yeah, this one. This is a federal complaint.
Could I see the document now that you're looking at? Make sure I have the right one. I'm sorry, exhibit 2. This is exhibit 2 to your
and
deposition.
page,
Page 5,
line
10,
10.
10?
10,
Yeah.
okay.
paragraph 14.
Paragraph 14.
This refers to you attending the California School Boards Association annual meeting in San Diego, correct?
Item 14 does, yes.
And so you were actually at the California School Boards Association annual meeting from December 2nd through December 6th, correct?
Yes.
And the only seminar that you recall going to was one on sexual harassment, correct?
There may have been others. I know that was the only one that I had to sign in to get my, whatever they would send me, a proof of attendance that would fulfill a requirement for a certain period of time.
Now, prior to filing this federal district court complaint,
Yes.
Exhibit 2 to your deposition, did you ever talk to anyone, I'm talking about any of the staff, at Jurupa Unified School District in order to try to confirm or deny any of the allegations in this complaint?
I spoke to the superintendent early on.
Anybody else?
Employees of the
Yes.
district?
Yes.
No.
After filing this federal court complaint, which has a file date of, I believe, March 3, 2009,
Yes.
have you ever talked or conferred with any employee, staff member, administrator, or teacher of Jurupa Unified School District concerning any complaints they have against the district?
No.
Have you ever met with any district employees who have expressed complaints, and I'm talking about either current district employees or persons who were formerly district employees?
To have any, I'm a little bit confused here about the discipline process or anything that they're unhappy about.
Any complaints?
I don't think so.
So you've never talked with any of the staff members who might be maintenance staff?
Oh, I've talked to them. I've chatted with them.
Have you ever had meetings with them about any complaints they have with the district?
No.
Have you ever talked with any of the transportation staff?
Yes.
Who?
Oh, I don't know. I went to a celebration that was given by their union and sat and talked to people. I think some people had a beef. They were grumbling about things, but it didn't ask me to do anything.
Aside from this federal district court complaint, have you ever advised, assisted, or talked with anyone about any other complaints they have against the school district?
I'm going to object on the grounds
Yeah,
that that's irrelevant and it has nothing to do with the facts or circumstances of this case. I think it's vague and it's compound, and I'll instruct her not to answer.
Yeah.
Have you told me every reason in your opinion as to why you believe that the Jurupa Unified School District is either flawed or illegal?
Everything I know of that I have reason to believe is flawed or illegal?
Yes.
I would never say everything or about anything. I'd never guarantee that I had covered 100%.
Why?
Because I can't be sure of 100%. If you said everything that I know right now that I can think of, yes. Something that might pop up in my memory tomorrow, no.
You'll have the opportunity to review the text of the transcript of this deposition. You understand that, correct?
Yes, I hadn't thought about it, yes.
If you think of anything else, would you add that to any corrections or modifications of the deposition?
Yes, I would.
Is it your understanding that as a trustee of Jurupa Unified School District, it's part of your responsibility to try to ensure that the school district complies with the laws of the state of California?
Yes.
You said that you attended a union gathering, correct?
It was I wouldn't call it a union gathering. The union once or maybe twice a year has a party, call it a party, a celebration, and all of their people are invited, and everybody in the teachers, I don't think kids, teachers and etc., adults who work, and especially people from the board are invited to those. So it wasn't me attending a union meeting by any stretch of the imagination. It was a celebration.
Well, you said
cake and ice cream.
You said that you heard some concerns expressed by union members, correct?
I heard people talking and griping.
Did you take those concerns expressed in the talking and griping to any administrator of Jurupa Unified School District?
No, because they weren't directing them at me or asking me to do anything, and I have no way of knowing whether what they were saying had any validity.
So it's fair to say that if you don't know the underlying facts concerning something, you won't jump to any conclusion as to whether it's right or wrong, correct?
I will sure try not to.
Now, you're aware that the federal district court complaint that you filed was dismissed by the federal court in June of last year, correct?
Yes, I am.
And you're aware it was dismissed because legal counsel for the school district filed a motion to dismiss the case without leave to amend, correct?
Yes, and that's, so some of that is, this wasn't done as well as it could have been, should have been.
When you say this wasn't done as well as it should have been, what do you mean?
I'm going to object, as this line of questioning leads nothing to do with
Yeah.
the facts of this case, and
It's water
not-
over the,
okay,
over
okay,
the, over the bridge. Under the bridge.
And counsel, I'll simply represent to you that my concern is that, unfortunately, Ms. Considine included some of the general allegations that she made in the federal court case and the affirmative defenses of the state court case. And that's the reason why I'm asking these questions. Specifically, I don't have any hidden agendas here. I want to know whether Trustee Considine is asserting those affirmative defenses in good faith.
Well, I appreciate where you're coming from, counsel, and I understand. Initially, I think this was drafted, both documents were drafted by her attorney. I'm somewhat concerned that some of the area you're getting into may violate the privilege between attorney-client, and I also think that Ms. Considine's state of mind and her understanding as to whether or not she had a good faith and belief or not is irrelevant. So I'm going to instruct her to not answer.
As far as I'm concerned, counsel, the good faith nature of a person's assertion of a defense in a pleading isn't subjective, it's objective. And that's the reason I'm asking objective facts, like as to whether she knows whether the federal district court case was dismissed. In that regard, ma'am, I'll hand you another document. If we could have this marked as Exhibit 4, I believe. Here you go, counsel. You're welcome. I've placed before you a document which is entitled Civil Minutes, dated June 1, 2009. Have you seen this document, ma'am?
It doesn't look familiar.
Okay, take a few minutes to read it. For the record, while the witness is reading the document, this is entitled Civil Minutes General, case number ED-CV 09-455-GHK. Title, Noreen Considine versus Jurupa Unified School District. Presiding the Honorable George H. King, U.S. District Judge, and it's dated June 1, 2009. It is a two-page document which has the initials of the deputy clerk on the second page, and it says page 2 of 2, with generally the same heading on the second page, which is Exhibit 4 to this deposition. Just let me know when you're done reading it, Ms. Considine. Are you done reading it, ma'am?
Yes, I am.
I noticed you were making some notes on the document. What notes did you make?
I put a bracket around a sentence that I thought was the last sentence in the next to the last paragraph is where they, and I remember having seen that somewhere before because it jumps out at me. They believe, whoever that wrote this believes that this is a policy disagreement between board members and the school district. And I think that's an odd interpretation.
Why do you think it's an odd interpretation?
I don't think it's because I don't believe that it's a policy disagreement.
What do you believe it is?
I believe.
I'm going to object as this is irrelevant.
Yeah,
and
just
it's not-
arguing about something that's a dead horse.
Ms. Considine.
Okay.
Okay, my objection is that I think it's irrelevant and it's a question not designed to lead to relevant or admissible discovery, and I instruct her not to answer.
Well, counsel, let me ask you this, because I need to understand the basis for, the factual basis that the witness has for the affirmative defenses that she set up in here.
Right, and you're asking about, you're showing her a minute order from June 1st, 2009 that federal judge wrote approximately 4 months after her answer was filed in the current case. So how what a federal judge wrote 4 months after an answer is submitted is relevant is beyond me. And her analysis of this minute order from the judge also seems irrelevant to me. So that's where I'm coming from.
Okay, and as I've stated, the affirmative defenses seem to be very close, factually, to the federal district court complaint she filed. Let me ask you this, Ms. Considine. Have you ever seen District Exhibit 4 to your deposition, the minute order from Judge King in the federal district court case? Before today?
This time.
This? You mean this document? I'm
Yes.
holding? No, I don't believe I have. I don't believe I have, yet some of the terms strike me as familiar. Like what I said about the, that looked familiar to me. What is in essence a policy disagreement between, et cetera, et cetera.
Did you see that in the newspaper?
I doubt it.
Okay, but as you sit here today, you do not recall seeing District Exhibit 4 to your deposition before reading it today, correct?
I do not recall seeing it. The name of the judge is familiar, and
Do you remember seeing this document or not?
no, I've
Yes
never
or
seen
no?
this form. I've never seen this. I do not recall ever having seen this
Great.
document.
Okay. Now, isn't it true, and I'm going to change subjects just a bit, isn't it true that after you took office in December of 2008, you received 4 student binders during the meetings in December and January of 2009?
December, January, and February, yes.
And isn't it true that you asked to take those binders home because you wanted to review them?
Yes.
And you took those binders home, correct?
Yes, I did.
And you understood when you took them home that they contained confidential student information regarding students in the Jurupa Unified School District, correct?
Yes.
Approximately how many students' cases were addressed in those binders?
Maybe 80 or 90. I can't say. I've never counted them.
Your estimate is that those 4 binders contained the confidential student records concerning 80 or 90 students, correct?
Yes.
And the reason that, and you asked to take those binders home in an open session of the board, correct?
Yes, I did.
And the other members of the board gave you permission to take them home, correct?
I assume they did. No one objected. It wasn't put to a vote.
And the only items out of the board agenda that you asked to take home were the student records concerning student expulsions, correct?
I don't know. I don't know. That doesn't sound right.
Did you take binders home that concerned other aspects of the functioning of Jurupa Unified School District?
No, just a discipline process.
So it's true that the only binders you took home were binders that concerned confidential information regarding the 80 or 90 students who were subject to expulsion, correct?
Not just expulsion.
What else?
Some are suspended. Some are returned to school from after being kicked out. There's about 6 different categories. And these we are given on the Friday before the Monday meeting. And that's not enough time for me to read through them and understand them, or even to read through them and not understand them.
And isn't it true that in December 16th of 2008, you were asked by a representative from Jurupa Unified School District to return the notebooks you took concerning the discipline, the binders concerning discipline, correct?
I don't remember being asked by somebody, no.
Well, I say being asked. I'm talking about in writing, too.
I don't recall that such request.
You don't recall an email? Do you know a woman named Denise Collins?
Yes, she worked for the superintendent,
In what capacity?
clerical.
Do you recall getting an email from Denise Collins in December of 2008 asking you to return the student binders or notebooks concerning discipline?
I don't recall, but that's such a long time ago, I wouldn't remember anyway.
Well, if you had gotten such a request from Denise Collins, would you have returned the binders and notebooks?
Not immediately, not until I was finished looking through them. I wanted to look at every case.
Why?
Because I wanted to know. I wanted to know who was being suspended, why kids are being expelled, why so many kids are being expelled, and who's being returned to school, and everything. Each one is somebody's life.
Well, the binders from the first meeting were provided to you on December the 8th of 2008, correct?
I'm not sure the exact date. I don't think we got anything for the December. I don't remember what we got during this December meeting, if anything, and when we got them. But I had not nearly enough time to go through all of them.
All right. How many days does it take you to go through a binder regarding student discipline matters?
Well, when you consider that I'm not a full-time employee, I have other commitments and other things that I do, it would take me about a week to go through them. I asked that we get them earlier, 10 days earlier. And Attorney Dina Harris said there was some kind of law or some such that said we had to have this decided within so many days of its reporting. That doesn't make sense. I don't like the way I said that. They're reported, and then they have to be adjudicated within a certain period of time. That was my understanding. Well, that's what we were told. And then we found out that we could get a waiver or variance or something like that, so that we could really look at them. I find it hard to believe that other people on the board did as good or better a job of reviewing discipline records than I did. It's not reasonable to expect that somebody have 4 days to do something that would take twice as long, and we're not full-time employees.
Well,
If I was a full,
were you employed as of December of 2008?
you mean by somebody else?
I'm not sure.
What do you mean by?
Were you employed at all in December of 2008?
I can't say that. I might have been. I can't say that. I don't know.
You don't know if you were employed in December of 2008?
I have done a lot of consulting work, and so it would come and go, and I would have different deadlines, so it's not like going someplace and working 8 hours and going home. My work was not that. It was not like working at somebody else's shop. So I can't say, yes I was, or no I was not. And that's not the point. The point is there's not enough time to go through all that stuff.
I'll check my notes, but I believe, and correct me if I'm wrong, I believe you said that you were self-employed from the late 90s into the early 2000s. I thought that's what you said.
I might have said early 2000. I would put a date on it as close as I can decide. It's mid-2005.
Okay, so as of 2008, you were no longer self-employed, right?
No, I was not.
I'd like to have marked as Exhibit 5 this one-page document. Counsel, here's a copy for you.
Thank you.
This is a one-page document which says from Denise Collins, dated Tuesday, December 16, 2008, at 2:56. 2 is Noreen Considine. That's your email address, correct, ma'am? Or was your email address as of December of 2008? Mm-hmm. Is that yes?
Yes, it is.
And you got this email, didn't you?
It doesn't look familiar, but I must have.
Can you see where it says importance high?
Yes.
And do you see at the bottom, paragraph 2, which says, quote, "We will be sending you the agenda and student discipline notebooks for the January 5th meeting on Thursday or Friday of this week. Due to the Christmas break, all the items for the January 5th meeting will need to be delivered this week. You are still in possession of your agenda and discipline notebooks, which we need in order to prepare your materials for the next meeting. Please bring both notebooks to your meeting this Thursday with the superintendent." Period, close quote. Did I state that paragraph correctly, ma'am?
You only got one word wrong.
Okay, except for the one word I got wrong. Did I state the paragraph correctly?
Yes.
So let me ask you about this then. According to this email from Denise Collins, who was an employee in the superintendent's office at Jurupa Unified School District, you had already had notebooks from earlier in December of 2000, discipline notebooks, from December of 2008, correct?
Apparently, yes.
And actually, by the timing of this, you would have had the second set of notebooks and would have had the Christmas break to review those notebooks over for the meeting for January 5th, correct?
No, there's only one meeting in December. So we had one meeting, and then the rest of the month is kind of a Christmas break. We get a week off in the summer. I mean, we do 1 month in the summer and 1 month in December for Christmas. We have one meeting only, and there was only one meeting in December this year.
All right, let me walk through this with you then.
Okay.
Do you see in paragraph number 2 on this email, District Exhibit 5, Ms. Collins says, quote, "We will be sending out the agenda and student discipline notebooks for the January 5th meeting on Thursday or Friday of this week," period, close quote. Do you see that?
Yep.
Do you see that this email is dated Tuesday, December 16, 2008? Do you see that?
Yes, I do.
Therefore, if they sent out the notebooks for the January 5th meeting on Thursday or Friday during the week of December 16th, you would have had those notebooks as well as the other notebooks you had during the entire Christmas break, right?
Yes.
That would have given you the time that you wanted to review those notebooks, correct?
Possibly.
Now, did you bring the notebooks that Ms. Collins asked for to your meeting with the superintendent, and that would have been Mr. Deshawn, correct?
I believe so. Yeah.
On Thursday, December 18th. Did you bring those notebooks?
No, I didn't.
You decided to keep them, right?
I decided to keep them until I was through with reading all of the cases, and as you know, I was not happy with what I found to be missing from these documents, from these cases.
So did you write back, Ms. Collins, and say something along the lines of, "May I please have an extension"?
I don't recall.
Did you ask Ms. Collins or anyone connected with Jurupa Unified School District if you have more time to review the student discipline notebooks or binders?
Again, I don't recall.
But you're certain you didn't bring the student discipline notebooks or binders, as we call them, to the meeting that you had with Superintendent Elliot Deshawn December 18th, 2008, correct?
That's probably correct.
Now, after Ms. Collins asked you to bring back the student discipline notebooks, she asked you again in writing, didn't she?
I don't recall.
Well, if she had asked you, you would have brought them back, right?
I don't know. That's speculative. I don't know.
Why don't you know?
Well, because I don't know where I was in the process of reading through these things and making. I was very distressed by what I found,
Okay.
As,
Tell me,
as we've already gone through before, that stuff that it just isn't there. Just isn't in the discipline notebooks. It just isn't in the discipline case for any given student.
well, as a elected trustee on the Jurupa Unified School District Board, have you ever asked for the district staff to consider other means for the school district board to review student discipline matters?
No, I don't think I did.
Have you ever?
I believe I've talked to Mr. Duchamp about it.
Aside, and when did you talk to Mr. Duchamp?
I don't know exactly. I would say my best guess would be early in my tenure as a board member.
What did you say to him?
Well, I know I asked to keep them longer so that I can go through them more thoroughly and why they are not thorough. Why do they not have the student's point of view in there?
Did Mr. Duchamp answer your question?
As I recall, his answer was, these are no big deal in a kid's life. They won't affect them in any way. So I don't believe that entirely.
You understand that as an elected official, you have the power to request staff and your colleagues on the board to consider best practices in student discipline, don't you?
Theoretically, yes.
And between December of 2008 and as we're sitting here in August of 2010, you've never done that, have you?
I know it, I haven't.
Why?
Because of the hostility that I've been met with when I ask for change.
When you ask for change?
Ask for change.
What change have you asked for?
I want the whole story with every student's discipline case. There's kids being kicked out that don't need to be kicked out.
What you said you were subject to hostility. You
Yes.
just explained that Mr. Duchamp, when you asked him about it, said that it was no big deal, that it wasn't on a student's permanent record. Did he say that in a hostile way?
No, but the underlying message was go away, leave us alone. And we're not going to do anything, just let it go.
Well, you understand that if a majority of the board of directors ask, for example, staff to consider best practices or, for example, contact the California School Boards Association or to do a review of discipline policies, that if the board of directors, board of trustees gave that instruction, staff would do it, right?
I don't know whether they would because they have always voted against me.
When you say they, are you referring to your colleagues on the school board?
Yes.
Well, have you considered asking them for at least a consideration of alternative disciplinary procedures within Jurupa Unified School District Board? Excuse me, within Jurupa Unified School District.
I don't know if I did or not
You
because
didn't,
I have
did you?
not, it has not been welcome. My views
How do
have
you,
been
how do you
welcome.
know it's not welcome if you don't ask?
Conversations that I've had with members of the board who are happy with the status quo and don't want me to, what's the word? They don't want me to kick up dust. And when things are great the way they are from their perspective.
How do you know if you haven't asked them?
I said I talked to them. They've talked to me. They don't want to do it any differently than the way they are.
Okay. Who did you talk to, and tell me specifically when and what was said?
I can't tell you when. I can tell you who.
Who did you talk to?
Let me see who's on the board. Mary Burns. Geez, I can't remember who's even on there. Cheryl Schmidt would not even make eye contact with me. I didn't get very far with her. Don Boer, who was, I felt very hostile. Well, I guess that's all. The big three were not interested in hearing what I had to say.
What about Mr. Rodriguez?
Mr. Rodriguez was not hostile to it, but Mr. Rodriguez doesn't have any authority. But it's just the guy. There's one guy there.
Well, let me ask you this. Are you familiar with the responsibility of school board members when they have concerns that they need to bring them up publicly in open session?
I did speak in open session about kids not getting a fair shake.
I'm not asking about that. I'm asking, I'll be very clear, I'm asking what you did as an elected public official in a proper public forum under the Ralph M. Brown Act to seek at least review and possibly reform of student discipline policies in Jurupa Unified School District.
I cannot bring up anything during a meeting unless it's been approved.
What
It has
is
to be
that?
on. It has to be on the agenda.
But you know that a school board member has a right to put things on an agenda, correct?
Yes.
And you didn't do that, did you?
I'm not sure if I did or not. There's a lot of things that have been asked for by me and for others that didn't get on the agenda.
You brought a federal court lawsuit claiming that the disciplinary processes of Jurupa Unified School District are improper, right?
Yes.
And as you sit here today, you're not sure if you ever brought up those concerns in open session before the Jurupa Unified School District Board?
I just say that I did.
Hang on. I'm going to object that this has been asked and answered. We've gone over this ad nauseum. I'm going to instruct you not to answer the question, okay?
Well, it hasn't changed. Okay.
Isn't it true that the Jurupa Unified School District has recently reviewed their policies, including disciplinary policies?
I don't know the answer to that, but I can see where your question is coming from because I got delivered to me revisions of several policies. I don't know who revised them because there's never on any of our policies, unlike any place I've ever worked before, there is no one responsible for these. Every place else I worked, there is somebody who's the head of something who signs new policies.
Wasn't it the school board that instructed staff to review the policies?
Not when I was there.
Have you missed any meetings in the past?
I missed.
Wait a minute, let me finish my question. Between December of 2008 and as we sit here in August of 2010, have you missed any meetings?
I missed one last winter.
And when you missed that meeting, did you review the minutes to find out what you missed?
Yes.
And isn't it true, ma'am, that the policy review that has recently been addressed by the Jurupa Unified School District Board was, by the Jurupa Unified School District was actually directed by the board itself, the school board?
Not to my knowledge.
And as a sitting member of the board, if the policy review had been directed by the school board, you would have known about it, right?
Yes or no?
I would guess, yes.
I'd like to have marked as District Exhibit 6 another email from Denise Collins. Council, here's your copy. You're welcome. This is a email from Denise Collins to Noreen Considine, sent Thursday, December 18, 2008 at 5:36 p.m. It says importance high, and says subject, student discipline notebook. You recognize this document, ma'am?
No, I can't understand what she's talking about.
Do you
Recipient.
recognize the document, Ms.
No.
Considine, or no?
No, I do not.
Do you see the to line? It says Noreen Considine, correct?
Yes.
And that's your email address, correct?
Yes, it is.
And do you see, it says tracking recipient delivery read, do you see that?
Yes.
You don't recall, do you or do you not recall getting this document?
I do not recall.
Do you see where it says, please be aware that student discipline notebooks are confidential material. They should not be in a file anywhere outside the student's CUME file?
I see it.
And well, you were aware of that as of December 18, 2008 without Ms. Collins telling you that, correct?
Yes.
And do you see where it says, please leave your discipline notebook from the December 8th meeting in your lockbox before 11 a.m. tomorrow for pickup when staff deliver the materials for the next board meeting? Do you see that?
Yes, I do.
Did you leave those discipline notebooks in the lockbox?
No, I never saw this before. I never saw this supposed email before.
Okay. Even if you didn't see it, you would agree, wouldn't you, that you had now the notebooks from December 8th, 2008, plus the notebooks that were going to be addressed in January of January 5th, 2009, and that you had the entire Christmas vacation to go through all that material, correct?
No, we didn't get this. We didn't get the notebooks for the January meeting in December 18th. I asked for 10 days more, or some days more, and your employee, Dina O'Harris, said they couldn't do that because there would be, they'd miss something, they'd miss some requirement if they did that.
Did
so they
what?
could, if they had to give us a few more days, another week or 2 weeks to review these, there would be a problem with reporting out. I can't speak for her, what she said. But that's one of the things I did ask for, and I was told, no, you can't do that. So we did not get them on December 18th because...
What day did you get them?
The Friday before the first meeting in January.
So you got them during the Christmas break?
No, we get them in January. We did not get any. They're not saying we're going to pick them up. They're going to deliver them. They're going to pick them up.
Do you see where it says, when staff deliver the materials for the next board meeting?
Say it again. Staff of the materials for the next board meeting. Yes, lately there's been a lot of apparently materials means everything except the student discipline because they're delivered separately. They're different. They're not. Nothing else is confidential or has a timeline on it. So they may have been delivering the agenda and some other things.
All right, look back at District Exhibit number 5.
Okay.
Do you see the first line in paragraph number 2 on District Exhibit 5, which is an email dated December 16, 2008? Do you see that?
Yes, I do, and that is something I asked for and was told we couldn't do.
Do you see where it says, quote, we will be sending out the agenda and student discipline notebooks for the January 5th meeting on Thursday or Friday of this week.
Yes.
Due to the Christmas break, all items for the January meeting will need to be delivered this week.
Yes, yes, I do.
So with regard to the student discipline binders you kept, isn't it true that the school district actually arranged for you to have more time, at least due to the Christmas break, to review the materials you wanted to review?
Well, if they were going to deliver them to me, they were going to deliver them to all the others.
That's not what I asked.
Do you have independent recollection of that fact that Mr. Clark is asking?
No. I remember asking for more time and being told by Mrs. Harris that The school district could not do that because they had a deadline.
Let me represent to you.
But here it says it is.
Let me represent to you that the binders for the January 5th, 2009 meeting were delivered by December 19, 2008. I'll just make that representation to you. Assuming that is true, that would have given you over 2 weeks to review all the materials for the January 5, 2009 board meeting, correct?
Possibly. I mean, I don't know exactly what my agenda was for the Christmas break besides, doing this.
Ms. Considine, assuming the fact that Mr. Clark just laid out to you, if that was true, would it have given you 2 weeks to review the documents?
Yes,
If
it
it
would.
were, if
Yes,
it
it
were
would.
true. Okay.
Yes, it would. But I don't remember any such thing happening.
And actually, at least by reference in these emails from 2008, you received student discipline binders December the 8th of 2008, correct?
I'm going to
I
object
know the date.
as to that question is vague. But if you understand it, you can answer.
I'll try to refine the question. At least by reference to the emails, the exhibits 5 and 6 that I just showed you, you actually received student discipline binders or notebooks as they're called in these emails earlier in December of 2008, correct? Earlier than the dates of these emails, December 16th and December 18th, correct?
Do you understand that question?
The notebook from December 8th means the notebooks that were reviewed on December 8th. So it
You're
would
right.
have been before the 18th.
Right, you had those notebooks from December the 8th, correct? Yes?
Yes, I did.
So if you got the notebooks on December the 8th and the next meeting was January the 5th of 2009, you would have had almost a full month to review the notebooks that you got on December the 8th, correct?
Entirely possible.
Why do you say it's possible?
I say it's possible because I do not devote myself to this as if it were my life's work. It is a job that I have, but it's not the only job that I have. So I can't say I had 2 weeks and I will spend that entire 2 weeks on this and get it done.
Well, you asked for more time, right?
Yes, I did.
You wanted more time to review the notebooks, right?
Yes.
And the amount of time you wanted was more than the 4 or 5 days that you would get the notebooks in the regular course of the operation of the school district, correct?
Yeah, something came up about 10 days. But it may have been by Dina Harris.
Let me
remember.
let me try to refine my question.
Okay.
The notebooks, binders, that contain confidential student disciplinary matters are usually provided to you the Thursday before the Tuesday meeting that occurs twice a month.
Correction. It's usually delivered Friday before the Monday
Okay,
meetings.
so you have Saturday, Sunday, and then if you have time, you can review them Monday, correct?
Yes.
You have a weekend to review them. Is that yes?
Yes, it is.
And you devote the time that you need over the weekend to review those notebooks, don't you?
Yes, I did, and I found that it was not enough time.
All right, how many hours per weekend do you devote to reviewing the student disciplinary manuals? Or notebooks or binders?
Maybe 6 or 8 hours.
In 6 or 8 hours, that's not enough time for you to go through 2 binders of student disciplinary material, correct?
I would say no.
Then why don't you spend 8 to 10 hours during the weekend to review the student disciplinary notebooks?
I think I need to put a limit on how much time I put in on this because I have other responsibilities.
What are the responsibilities that you have every other weekend that prevents you from taking the time you need over a weekend to review the student disciplinary binders?
What other responsibilities?
Yes.
I have a home and a family.
I don't, explain that to me.
I take care of my home and my family. It is, it's a job. It's a labor of love, but it's still a job. It takes time. It takes a lot of time. And I'm not ashamed to say so. It's more important in my life than many other things.
Then reviewing the student disciplinary notebooks, even though you're an elected trustee of the school board, correct?
Objection, argumentative. I'm going to instruct you not to answer that.
Oh, no,
That's commentary.
that's nasty.
Okay.
That's nasty, yeah. You know, these don't look like emails that I print out.
Why are you telling me that?
I think I think they may not be emails. I mean, it may have been something that somebody typed up.
I'm going to object. There's no question pending.
I asked her,
It's
why is she telling me that?
It's irrelevant.
So your opinion now is that somebody might have forged the emails, District Exhibit 5 and 6, right? Is that what you're saying?
That's what I am suggesting, that it's a possibility. Since these are not familiar to me, and they don't look like any
Can we
emails
take a
that I've
break?
seen.
Sure. Thank you.
Sorry.
Going off the record, the time is 3:58 p.m.
If I can get back on again. Oh, I can't see this.
We are back on the record. The time is 4:14 p.m.
We've taken a break. You've had an opportunity to think about some of my questions over the break. Is there anything you'd like to amend or add on to or correct so far?
You've had a lot to say. I can't say that I spent a break analyzing them.
Okay. Now, during the break, do you have any reason now to articulate as to why you believe Exhibits 5 and 6 to your deposition have been forged?
Well, because they don't look familiar. They don't look like something I've seen. And the printout is not what I'm accustomed to seeing in an email. But that may be, their email is different than mine.
What is different in terms of the printout from emails you've seen in the past on District Exhibit 5 and 6?
Different from emails? I don't see any other emails here.
No, what is different? You just said, ma'am, that the District Exhibit 5 and 6 are different from other emails that you've seen.
Yeah,
that have been
okay,
printed out.
yes.
And my question is, what is different about Exhibits 5 and 6 from other emails that you've seen?
All this up here is usually in a box.
What-
Something that you can't make up.
What? I'm sorry, something you can't make up?
Well, I guess you could if you're very clever. I don't have a real email here anywhere that has a box around it to show you that this is an email. Maybe that's just my machine. Doesn't matter. What matters is these are not familiar to me. If I've seen them, it's a long time ago, and if I haven't seen them, it's still a long time ago. They're not familiar.
Okay. Well, let's go to the January 5, 2009 board meeting. Do you recall that board meeting, ma'am?
No, except that I was there.
You received student disciplinary binders or notebooks at that board meeting, correct?
Prior to, yes.
And you had the weekend, or at least the weekend, and perhaps the entire Christmas break to review those binders or notebooks, correct?
Probably.
And at the end of the January 5, 2009 trustee meeting for the Jurupa Unified School District Board, you kept those student discipline binders, didn't you?
Yes, I did.
You did not give them back, correct?
I believe that's true.
So as of January 5, 2009, you now had the student discipline binders for 3 board meetings of the Jurupa Unified School District, correct?
By January what, 5?
Yes.
2, one for December and one for January.
And after the January 5, 2009 trustee meeting for the Jurupa Unified School District Board, you were again contacted by district staff, this time Mr. Elliot Duchamp, to return the binders or notebooks, correct?
I don't know, I don't remember that.
I'd like to have marked as District Exhibit 7, one-page letter dated January 8, 2009. Council, a copy for you. You're welcome.
Thank you.
For the record, while you're reviewing it, District Exhibit number 7 is a January 8, 2009 letter on the letterhead of Jurupa Unified School District with a signature line for Elliot Duchamp, D-U-C-H-O-N, Superintendent, with a CC to Don Brewer, President of the Board of Education. Do you recall receiving this letter, ma'am?
I'm not sure. It's a long time ago. I can't say.
Do you see where it says P.O. Box 3219? That's your post office box,
Yes, it
correct?
is. Mhm.
Good. Since you don't recall receiving the letter, take a few minutes to review it
Okay.
and let me know when you finish reviewing it.
Okay, I've read it.
I have 2 questions regarding this letter, or 2 series of questions regarding this letter. With regard to the first paragraph, Mr. Duchamp states that, quote, if I can be of assistance in addressing any of your concerns regarding either expulsions in particular or student discipline in general, I would be most happy to do so. We were going to meet prior to the holidays to discuss the cases in the December 8th board meeting agenda. If you'd still like to do so, please let me know. I'm always open to improving our procedures or correcting any flaws in the process, period, close quote. First of all, my question is, did you ever actually follow up and have that meeting where you talk with Mr. Duchamp about perhaps improving discipline procedures or any other procedures for the school board?
I don't recall such meeting.
Going on to the second paragraph on District Exhibit 7. Quote, regarding the return of student discipline books, board members are furnished with discipline files prior to the disposition of a case. These are provided due to board members, quote, need to know, close quote, in order to vote on individual discipline cases. Subsequent to the disposition of the case, the, quote, need to know, close quote, basis no longer exists, and there is no legitimate reason for a board member to have access to an individual student record. For that reason, it is crucial to return discipline files at the end of closed session, period, close quote. Now, at any time in January of 2009, did you return the notebooks, student notebooks or binders regarding student discipline to the school district?
I don't think so.
And then there was also a board meeting January 20th of 2009, correct?
I don't know the exact date.
There was a third board meeting, another board meeting in January 2009, correct?
Yes,
After the January 5, 2009 board meeting, correct?
yes, but I don't have a calendar in front of me, so I can't say what the date was.
Well, there were student discipline binders or notebooks that were provided to you in preparation for that school board meeting, correct?
Yes.
And you kept those student discipline binders or notebooks, correct, didn't you?
Yes, I did.
Even though Mr. Deshawn had explained to you it's critical to return those discipline files at the end of the closed session, correct?
Yes.
And then on February 2nd of 2009, the first meeting in February of last year, you received student discipline notebooks or binders for that meeting, correct?
I don't remember, but I probably did.
But you kept the student discipline notebooks or binders for the first meeting in February of 2009, didn't you?
Yes.
So by February 2nd, or by the early part of February of 2009, you had the student notebooks from December 8, 2008, January 5th, 2009, the second meeting in January of 2009, and the first meeting of February of 2009, correct?
Yes.
And you understood that those student records were confidential, correct?
Yes.
And do you recall during one board meeting indicating in the presence of Mr. Deshawn and the other board members that you had made copies of those student discipline binders or notebooks?
I'm going to object. This requires information that was potentially in closed session and involves the deliberative process privilege, so I'm going to instruct her not to answer.
You made copies, and you're going to stand on that privilege?
I am.
Okay. You made copies of the student records in those student discipline binders that you'd obtained from December, January, and February of 2008, December, and January, February of 2009, correct?
I'm going to object on the same grounds and instruct you not to answer.
As to whether you made copies?
Yes.
And what's the nature of the privilege?
That any information that may allow you to answer that question may have been obtained through confidential communications that occurred in closed session.
I'm just asking if she made copies.
Same objection, but you can answer the question.
No.
You had not made any copies.
No.
You never showed anyone any copies of the student records.
Objection. That calls for information that may have been obtained during closed session and involves privilege and the deliberative process. Do not answer.
That's an interesting question, Counsel, because as far as I understand, the school district is the holder of the privilege, not an individual board member.
We'll have to agree to disagree on that one.
Okay. So let me just ask you this. Did you ever tell anyone, anybody, that you had made copies of those student discipline binders or notebooks?
That question is the same objection. It's pretty much the same one you just asked.
No, it's different. I'm saying anyone at any time.
I don't recall.
Do you recall that during the January 5 and January, and the January 5 meeting let me start again. The January 5 meeting in the year 2009, and then the second meeting in January 2009, that various board members asked you to return the student discipline binders or notebooks?
Various board members?
Yes.
No.
You recall Mr. Deshawn asking you to return the binders or notebooks?
I don't recall, but he may have.
And you didn't return the binders and notebooks, correct?
That's correct.
And didn't you tell Mr. Deshawn at one point that you were preparing for a potential class action lawsuit against the school district?
No.
You never represented, okay, let me expand the question. Did you tell any official, elected or otherwise, that you were preparing for potential class action lawsuit and you were considering using the materials in those discipline notebooks as a basis for the class action lawsuit?
No, I've never heard of anybody else saying it about the discipline notebooks. About a class
Okay,
action.
you've answered the question.
Yeah.
Well, did you use the information in those discipline notebooks in order, as a part of the factual basis for the federal court lawsuit that you filed in March of 2009?
Objection vague as to what information?
Any information?
I don't think so.
So let me ask you this. On what day did you return the student binders or notebooks?
February, I believe February 19th. But it could be a few days sooner.
By February 19th, actually, you received another piece of correspondence asking for the notebooks, hadn't you?
I got a copy from one of your attorneys. Is that what you mean?
Anybody?
I'm an attorney.
I'd like to have marked as District Exhibit 8, this letter. Dated February, you're welcome, counsel, February 5, 2009.
Yeah.
For the record, this is a 4-page letter dated February 5, 2009, on the letterhead of Best and Krieger, attorneys at law, to Trustee Noreen Considine, at 2 addresses. Do you see that?
Yes.
One is your post office box, which is 3219, correct?
Yes.
And that is your post office box number,
That's
correct?
correct.
And then it's also addressed to you at Jurupa Unified School District, correct? Mm-hmm. Is that yes?
Yes, it is.
And you also received mail at the Jurupa Unified School District, correct?
There have been items that have come there infrequently.
And when you get letters or mail at the Jurupa Unified School District, you, the district staff provided to you, correct?
I know in one case they did not, but I know other cases that they did provide them to me.
You got this letter in February of 2009, didn't you?
Yes, I'm sure I did.
And you read it, correct?
Yes.
Look with me at page 3. I want you to read paragraphs which are numbered 1, 2, 3, and 4 on the left-hand side of page 3 of District Exhibit 8. And I ask if you disagree with any of the statements that are made there. And counsel, it's almost 4:30. We'll have to finish after this line and then come back and finish again another day.
Sure. You want to, after this, talk about what day works, that sort of thing?
Are you done reading paragraphs with the numerical number next to them? 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5 on page 3 of District Exhibit 8, the February 5, 2009.
I didn't hear you say 5. I'll read that.
Okay.
Okay.
Is there anything factually in the paragraphs numbered 1 through 5 on page 3 of District Exhibit 8 that you disagree with?
There are some things that I don't recall
Is there anything you disagree with?
that I disagree with.
I'm going to object that this is vague as to, what do you mean by that, counsel? That you're asking her to stipulate to
No.
all the facts there that they're being true?
No. I asked her if there's any fact there that's stated that's incorrect. It's different.
Sounds the same to me.
A meeting scheduled for December 18th. That was mentioned in another letter that I canceled. That I canceled the meeting. I don't remember that meeting being scheduled or canceled.
And that's referenced in paragraph 1?
The end of paragraph 1, yes.
Aside from not remembering the meeting scheduled for December 18, 2008, is there any other factual statement in the paragraphs numbered 1 through 5 on page 3 of the February 5, 2009 letter, which has been marked as a District Exhibit 8, that you disagree with?
No, except that the dates. I can't vouch for the dates.
I'm going to lodge an objection to her answering that question. I wouldn't have instructed her not to answer, but I believe that question is vague and is compound.
All right. Paragraph 1, first sentence states, quote, "At the board meeting December 8, 2008, you stated you wanted to take home the student binder so that you could review the cases in greater detail and better understand the process, period." Is that true or false?
That's probably true.
The next sentence in paragraph 1, quote, "The board allowed you to do so because you were new to the board and unfamiliar with the process and paperwork, but requested that the binder be returned to the district office before the holiday break, period," close quote. Is that true or false?
I've had this conversation before with somebody, and I don't remember the before the holiday break part of it. I just don't remember having a timeline. You have to have it back by a certain date. I don't remember that. Agreeing to that or even disagreeing with it.
The next line in paragraph 1 of District Exhibit 8 at page 3, quote, "District staff also offered to meet with you to review any questions you had about the discipline process or about any of the specific cases." I'll go on because the next sentence refers to that. "A meeting was scheduled for Thursday, December 18, 2008 for that purpose, but you canceled that meeting. You also failed to return the binder." Are those statements true or false?
They may be true. I don't recall. It's true that I did not return the binder, but the others, the meetings and the cancel and so forth, I don't remember.
Paragraph 2 on page 3 of District Exhibit 8 states, and on the number paragraph 2, quote, "At the board meetings of January 5, 2009 and January 20, 2009, you were again asked to leave the student discipline binder with the district after the meeting, but you failed to do so, period," close quote. Is that true or false?
As I said, it's probably true. I can't vouch for the dates, but the two meetings, I may have been asked. I don't remember.
Paragraph 3, number 3, on page 3 of the February 5, 2009 letter, which has been marked as District Exhibit 8 for purposes of this deposition, states, quote, "By letter dated January 8, 2009, from Superintendent Ellie Duchan, you were informed of the district's concern and asked to return the student records, period," close quote. Is that true or false?
Well, it appears there was such letter. I don't remember it.
When you say it appears there was such a letter, why do you say that?
Well, there's a letter here that's January 8th, and it's signed by Mr. Duchan, and it says what it says.
Just for
I
the
don't remember.
record, the witness is referring to what's been marked as...
Exhibit 7.
Paragraph 4 on page 3 of the February 5, 2009 letter, which has been marked as District Exhibit number 8 to this deposition, states, quote, "On or about January 20, 2009, you were given a copy of a legal memorandum dated January 15, 2009, prepared by this law firm regarding the district exposure liability if it did not make efforts to recover the student records from your possession, period," close quote. Is that true or false?
I don't know. I don't see. Did I get a copy of that?
If you don't know, just tell me.
Yeah. I don't see it here.
Do you remember or not, Ms.
I don't
Considine?
remember. I don't remember such thing. I mean, I guess that's no.
Paragraph 5, on page 3 of the February 5, 2009 letter marked as District Exhibit 8. At its meeting of February 2, the district received advice from legal counsel regarding the district exposure, liability based on your unauthorized retention of pupil records, and directed legal counsel to proceed with efforts to recover the records in your possession. Is that true or false?
I don't know. It might be. I don't remember being in that meeting. Perhaps it was held while I was somewhere else. I don't know. Is that?
Do you remember or not?
I don't remember. I don't remember. If it was held in my absence. Most likely.
Are you suggesting that the board met without telling you?
Yeah.
All right. You are now stating that in your experience, the Board of Trustees for Jurupa Unified School District had meetings without noticing you? Is that what you're saying?
I'm going to object that this is irrelevant.
This is going down another brand new alley with a lot of nasty stuff.
I'm entitled to know whether or not she believes, because this letter represents that the board received advice. And she's saying she wasn't there, and she's suggesting that she might not have been there because she wasn't noticed. I'm entitled to ask that. So are you saying that the Board of Trustees for Jurupa Unified School District has had board meetings without noticing you?
Yes.
When?
The most recent one.
Again, I'm
Is this here?
hang on. I'm going to lodge an objection, but I'm not instructing you not to answer. I think it's irrelevant, and this isn't a line of questioning designed to elicit discoverable information.
Yeah. Yeah, there have been meetings that Mr. Rodriguez has been left out of them too. Mr. Rodriguez is not noticed. I'm not noticed.
Board meetings?
I don't know what you would call them. The three other people on the board get together, and sometimes with Mr. Duchamp and sometimes not.
I wasn't asking about other meetings. I was asking about board meetings.
Well, is it a board meeting? How do you define a board meeting?
Just
Do you
answer his
know
question.
what the definition of a board meeting is?
Apparently I don't, because there's meetings of three people of the board that are on the board, and the other two are not invited.
Do you know what the requirements are for a board meeting, a legally constituted meeting of the Board of Directors of Jurupa Unified School District? Yes or no?
Yes, I think I do.
Okay, tell me.
They have to be noticed, the public has to be noticed a certain period of time in advance, and all members need to be noticed a certain time in advance.
So this paragraph referred to, which is numbered at paragraph 5 of page 3, refers to a board meeting on February 2, 2009. If we, because we're not going to finish this deposition today clearly, if we establish that there was a board meeting on February 2, 2009, you said that you only missed one board meeting. You would have been at that board meeting on February 2, 2009, correct?
I would have been unless somebody asked me to step out of the room. I would have, unless it was one of the secret meetings that they sometimes have before our scheduled meetings.
So it's your belief, ma'am, that when the author of this letter referenced a board meeting on February 2, 2009, you suspect that she was referencing a secret meeting?
I'm going to object on the
I don't
grounds,
know.
as I mentioned earlier, that
I don't
this
know.
is irrelevant and it's not likely to lead to discoverable evidence.
Do you see at the bottom of that paragraph 5, where it says, quote, "You were present during that discussion," period, close quote. Is that true or false?
Where is it?
Do you see the last sentence?
You will be notified?
The last sentence on the bottom of paragraph number 5.
Oh,
You were present during that discussion. Is that true or false?
I don't know.
Okay. Why don't we talk about some additional dates, Council? I would propose, for purposes of this portion of the deposition, the following stipulation. I would ask that the court reporter send the original of the deposition transcript, the transcript portion, to the office of counsel for the defendant. That the deponent have same amount of time,
That's fine.
1 week, to review the text of the deposition and to make any modifications or corrections that she chooses on the text of the deposition. I will inform you, Trustee Considine, that if you do make any corrections or modifications on the text of the deposition, that counsel or the person representing the school district at the trial, should this matter go to trial, has the right to comment on those corrections or modifications. I would ask that if counsel inform us within 1 week of any corrections or modifications. And I would appreciate it if you provide us with the original transcript for safekeeping for trial or other appropriate proceeding in this matter. Also, I express or reserve the right, although I don't need to do this, to make an appropriate motion to seek additional information from the deponent as to those matters that she was instructed not to answer during this portion of the deposition. I'm making this stipulation in the unlikely case that something were to happen that would make the deposition of the deponent we were unable to finish it prior to the trial. But we will be convening one more day to complete the deponent's deposition. Is that stipulation appropriate, counsel?
I'll stipulate to that.
Very good. And so we are off the record at this time.
This marks the end of Tape 2, Volume 1, in the deposition of Noreen Considine. We are going off the record. The time is 4:44 p.m.